Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today in this video, I'm going to be talking about how to feed peafowl. So peacocks and peahens, we're mostly going to focus on adults and just talk about their different nutrition needs and things like that. So be sure to subscribe to my channel for more information about animals and follow me over on Instagram and TikTok to see more of these beautiful animals. Today I'm going to be talking about how to feed your adult peafowl. It's not difficult as long as you understand that there are key differences between feeding them versus feeding chickens. A lot of times people try to feed peafowl the same as their chickens, and this can cause for peafowl to have very poor plumage, be too thin, and even die unexpectedly. Chickens are very forgiving and easy to care for. Peafowl require a bit extra. But if you're willing to put a little bit of time into it, it's pretty easy. Okay, so one of the important things with peafowl is the protein percentage. These birds actually eat a lot of protein naturally, and so you want to keep the protein between 20 and 30% depending on what's going on with your birds. For example, what time of year it is, if they're molting, if they're breeding. If they're in a smaller cage, then they're not using as much energy, so less. If they're really active, then they need more. So that's one of the things to think about. So let's go over some of the reasons you would want higher protein or some of the reasons that you would want lower protein. You will want to feed more protein when your birds are using more energy. So if they're molting, high protein is great. A good diet will make your peafowl look beautiful. Peafowl will molt a lot in the late fall. They will grow in a lot of new feathers. This is also the time of year that males will change very dramatically as they mature. And males will grow in their train feathers during winter, so it's good to make sure that they have enough to eat. Winter is also a time of year you want to feed more protein. Peafowl can actually handle cold weather pretty well, but they do need to eat more food during this time of year. When your hens are laying, you may want to increase protein. But when your birds are in a small pen, not spending a lot of energy, you can decrease the amount of protein that they eat. Now, when you're picking out a food, you want to go with a game bird food, and this can mean different things depending on where you're buying your food from. So there are chickens that are considered game birds because they use them for fighting or things like that, or usually it's mainly fighting. People might also say for show, but that type of game bird is not really the same as this type of game bird. That type of game bird is sport. This type of game bird is is actually pheasant. So the kind of food you want to go with is a pheasant food, something that's like for quail or pheasants. Sometimes turkey food will actually have a high enough percentage of protein. But to make it simple, I actually really like to just buy most of my food online. So I do get a blue bonnet from Chewy, which is a really good food for them actually. So I like that one. Now you also have to consider that the protein level really depends on what else you're mixing into the food. So if you're going to feed a balanced diet, you're going to incorporate a lot of other types of food into their diet. So you might want to go with the high percentage, the 30%, because some of their other food won't be so high in protein. Or if you are incorporating a lot of protein besides the game bird food, then you might want to go with the lower one. And talking about other types of food to feed them, let's go over that. So one of the first things I think of is actually alfalfa. That's high in protein and it gets in their leafy greens into their diet. So I really like alfalfa for them. And you want to go with a horse quality hay. So this is going to be very green, very rich, and it's perfect for peafowl. And they actually really like it. So it's really easy to incorporate the alfalfa into their diet. Another great way to add protein to their diet is actually feeder insects. So I like to use live. You can get dried, freeze-dried, canned, or live. And it's pretty much like in that order. The lowest quality would be dried, and then of course feeding live insects is going to be the best nutritional option for them. So the live food that I like to feed my peafowl are actually superworms. They love them, and they're nice and big, easy to grab, so you can actually grab them with your fingers or use a pair of tongs. And this is such a great bonding tool to have for your peafowl. They'll be coming up to you wanting this food. And so it's really beneficial for them, but also just really helps with your relationship with your peafowl. Some people choose to include cat food in the peafowl's diet. This isn't a bad idea, but you do need to be careful with what you provide. Some cat kibble contains a lot of extra ingredients. In this case, I actually prefer to go with a low-quality cat food that does have at least one source of animal protein. Some of the lower quality foods will have less ingredients in the food. For example, you do not want DL-methylene in the ingredients. But soy, corn, and wheat are perfectly fine for peafowl, and they can get protein from plant sources. You do want to include an animal protein, so something like chicken is perfect. And no, it's not cannibalism, unless you think that people eating cows or dogs eating lamb is cannibalism. Peafowl and chickens are birds, just like cows, people, dogs, and sheep are mammals. They're not related. Then next, of course, you do want to incorporate some grains into their diet, and so things like chicken scratch, that one's an okay option. Check with your feed store and see what their highest quality of chicken scratch is, because some chicken scratch will have like 4 different types of seeds, and others will have as many as like 12, and that's what I get for them, so that they can have really a big variety of different types of seeds. And it'll be sunflower seeds and peas, pieces of corn, things like that. So that can also be incorporated into their diet and gives them a variety which they really like. Then of course you do want to give them some leafy greens and vegetables. This is where peafowl are kind of like chickens in the fact that you can give them all types of vegetables and stuff like table scraps, that kind of thing, and anything that's starting to rot in your fridge. So you don't want to give them something completely covered in mold, but you know, your fruit's kind of going bad, it's a little soggy, you can actually take that out to your peafowl and they love it. So carrots, apples, peas, bananas, they just, all that kind of stuff, they really like that. Leafy greens, that's going to be really great to incorporate into their diet. Now, if you aren't going to normally have vegetables to go and give them from like your own scraps, then you should just get some frozen vegetables, the really cheap bags, thaw them out, and then just give them out to your peafowl. And that's a great way to incorporate vegetables into their diet. So you kind of want to cover all of those different things to really give them a good varied diet. If your peafowl are free range, feeding can sometimes be easier. Insects and leafy greens might already be a major part of their diet. For example, I only feed my free-range peafowl grain. So if you have enough land to successfully free-range peafowl, you probably don't need to provide all of these things. But during the winter, you may want to supplement these things into their diet. Now, of course, when you are feeding your peafowl, there are a couple of things that you want to avoid. For example, layer feed. This food is meant for chickens that are laying constantly. So you don't really want to give this to your peafowl. It's too high in calcium, and that can actually cause problems. If you want to give a little bit to your hens when they are laying early in the year, then that would be okay, but you don't really want this to be something that is incorporated into their diet. If your peafowl get a hold of it and they eat it, they're going to be okay. Just don't feed this on a regular basis. Some other things to avoid is like flock crumbles, the chick starters that are low in protein, things like that. I've just noticed that those feeds do cause some digestive issues with your peafowl, and it's best to avoid them because they can cause runny poop and things like that. So you don't want you don't want to incorporate food into their diet that's just going to upset their stomach and doesn't really have the right nutritional value for them. As for the amount of food you feed your peafowl, they really don't eat very much compared to other birds. I actually prefer to give them access to food all day long so that they can eat whenever they want to and as much as they want to. They do not tend to overeat. For free-range peafowl, I feed them once or twice a day, depending on the time of year and how available other food is to them. And I throw out enough food for them to eat in about 15 minutes. I guess it's kind of like feeding fish. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave a comment down below. Let me know what you want me to discuss about peafowl next. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye!